The largest country in South America, Brazil occupies almost half the continent. Nearly all of it is in the Southern Hemisphere, and much of it is tropical, with vast stretches of rainforest filled with exotic plants and wildlife. To discover the best places to visit and things to do, use this handy list of the top tourist attractions in Brazil. But first, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, it helps us a lot. Number 10. Ouro Preto. The wealth of Brazil's state of Minas Gerais in its glory days of the colonial period is easy to imagine from the interiors of the churches in its old capital, Ouro Preto. Entire walls are washed in gold that flowed, along with diamonds, from the mines surrounding the city in the 17th and 18th centuries. Cascading down the sides of a steep valley and surrounded by mountains, Ouro Preto is a jewel of a colonial town. But its steep, narrow streets and mountain setting, however captivating for tourists today, didn't meet the needs of a growing provincial capital. The government moved to the newly built capital of Belo Horizonte, leaving Ouro Preto in its time capsule. Number 9. Salvador's PELOURINHO. The Cidade Alta, Upper Town, of Brazil's former colonial capital has been named a UNESCO World Heritage Site for its exceptional collection of 17th and 18th century colonial buildings, the finest such ensemble in South America. Called the PELOURINHO, this old quarter is where you'll find Salvador's most beautiful churches and monasteries, built at a time when Brazil was the source of Portugal's riches and the plentiful gold was lavished on the colony's religious buildings. The finest and most opulent of the city's churches is São Francisco, built in the early 1700s and filled with intricate carvings covered in gold. In the choir and cloister, you can see excellent examples of Portuguese tile panels, called azulejos. Number 8. Pernambuco beaches. The crystal waters, tall palm trees, and broad stretches of silver sand are only a few of the reasons why Porto de Galinhas is frequently cited as Brazil's best beach. For a country with more than 7,000 kilometers of Atlantic coast, much of it sandy beaches, that's saying a lot. The town stretching along the beach is laid back, colorful, and just the right blend of old-fashioned beach town fun and chic boutiques. Its hotels and resorts lie close to the land instead of soaring in high-rise blocks. Number 7. Amazon rainforests. About 20 kilometers southeast of Manaus, the dark Rio Negro waters meet the light muddy water of the Rio Solimões, flowing side by side for about 6 kilometers before mixing as the Amazon. Boat trips from Manaus take you to this point, called Encontro das Águas, meeting of the waters. You can see monkeys, sloths, parrots, toucans, caimans, turtles, and other wildlife on a boat trip here. Also close to Manaus, the 688-hectare JANEIRO Ecological Park has a number of different ecosystems that you can explore by boat along its narrow waterways. 6. Ipanema. Beyond the beaches of Copacabana, the glorious white sands merge into the just as famous beaches of Ipanema. The same wave design of Copacabana's wide promenade continues here, separating the sand from the line of hotels, restaurants, cafes, art galleries, and cinemas that make this a popular social zone year-round. Farther along, beyond the Jardim de Ala Canal, which drains Lagoa Rodrigo de Freitas Lagoon, are the beaches of Leblon. With more locals and fewer tourists, these beaches are favorites for families. Sunday is especially busy, with an antiques market at Praça de Quentinland and the Feira de Artesanato de Ipanema, alive with music, art, handcrafts, and street food. 5. Carnaval. Rio de Janeiro. Few shows match Rio's pre-Lenten Carnival. Carnival, extravaganza for color, sound, action, and exuberance. Make no mistake, this is not just another rowdy street party, but a carefully staged showpiece, where spectators can watch the parades of competing samba dancers from a purpose-built stadium designed by none other than Brazil's best-known architect, Oscar Niemeyer. Called the Sambadromo, this long series of grandstand boxes provides ringside seats to a 700-meter parade route where dancers and musicians from the competing samba schools strut their stuff in a dazzling explosion of brilliant costumes. Number 4. Copacabana, Rio de Janeiro. Downtown Rio's most fashionable and famous section follows Avenida Nossa Senhora de Copacabana and is bordered all along one side by 4 kilometers of white sand and breaking surf. The beach is separated separated from the buildings and traffic by a broad promenade paved in black and white mosaic in an undulating pattern reminiscent of streets in Lisbon, Portugal. The beach isn't just for show, it's also a popular playground filled with sun worshippers, swimmers, and kids building sand castles whenever the weather is fine. Stroll the streets here to find restaurants, smart shops, cafes, and beautiful old buildings from the days when Rio was Brazil's capital. Number 3. Iguaçu Falls. At the point where Brazil, Paraguay, and Argentina meet, the Iguaçu River drops spectacularly in a semicircle of 247 waterfalls that thunder down into the gorge below. Just above the falls, the river is constricted to 1/4 of its usual width, making the force of the water even stronger. You can cross to the Argentinian side for closer views from catwalks that extend farther into the center of the falls. The two sides offer different perspectives and views, so most tourists plan to see both. The falls are protected by the UNESCO-acclaimed Iguaçu National Park, where subtropical rainforests are the home to more than 1,000 species of birds and mammals, including deer, otters, ocelots, and capybaras. Number 2. Sugar Loaf, Rio de Janeiro. The easily recognized emblem of Rio de Janeiro, the rounded rock peak of Sugar Loaf, juts out of a tree-covered promontory, rising 394 meters above the beaches and city. Its summit is one of the first places to visit for tourists, for views of Rio and the harbor, and for the thrill of riding suspended in a cable car between Sugar Loaf and the Morro de Urca, a lower peak from which a second cableway connects to the city. Rio's first settlement began below these peaks, near the long Praia de Urca beach, and you can tour one of the 3 early forts there, the star-shaped Fort São João. Number 1. Cristo Redentor and Corcovado, Rio de Janeiro. With arms outstretched 28 meters, as if to encompass all of humanity, the colossal Art Deco statue of Christ, called Cristo Redentor, Christ the Redeemer, gazes out over Rio de Janeiro and the bay from the summit of Corcovado. The 709-meter height on which it stands is part of the Tijuca National Park, and a rack railway climbs 3.5 kilometers to its top, where a broad plaza surrounds the statue. Completed in 1931, the 30-meter statue was the work of Polish-French sculptor Paul Landowski and Brazilian engineer Heitor de Silva Costa, and is constructed of reinforced concrete and soapstone. The 8-meter base encloses a chapel that is popular for weddings. Although this is one of Brazil's most readily recognized icons, it is often mistakenly called the Christ of the Andes, confused with the older statue marking the boundary between Argentina and Chile.